more useful. I remember in Wrath Lifting, one of my favorite talent changes was that Paladins had a talent that increased their spell power based on their stamina, so you no longer had to have spell power gear as a tank thing, which was a big thing as tanking. You had to get the same gear as warriors, but you had to have all the spell power on it. And your weapon, your main hand weapon, probably should be a spell. I remember on my pally, I got the arena weapon when they were just regular armor for like season 2 or whatever. It was one of the best pally maces you could get because it was a healing mace, but it was it had spell power on it, which was fantastic for tanking. Didn't need so much spell power now with that talent, but obviously. Active talents, like their Shield of Righteousness, or not Shield of Righteousness, the thing you showed the Shield of Retribution, whatever the shield you throw and hits 3 people. Great talent. Couldn't be passive. So I like the mix. I can't think of any particular talent trees or anything I've played of late that have felt too one way or the other, but very nice talent all around, and I think they do a good job of balancing active versus passive. And I like they acknowledges that passive talents are one of the easiest ways to change a particular talent spec. If you need to nerf or buff something, changing the passive talents slightly can really affect it more than having to get in there and change entire mechanics or mess around with percentages or mess around with active talents to redesign them completely. It's easier to just bump it a percent or do up or down.
Most assuredly, and just the added aspect of balancing, alright, is it when you're dealing with this particular active talent, is it that it's too powerful for where it's placed? Is it that it's too powerful overall? Is it that you need to place it in a different location? There's just so many more aspects to balancing overall when you're dealing with active. And if you were to have more active than passive, gameplay balance could be a nightmare.
You don't run mail?
Yeah.
I do.
Overall, I like where they do it, and I understand where they're coming from. I can see why people don't like passive talents as much, but I don't particularly agree. And Blizzard seems to think along the same lines I do. So, next up, the future of block. Now we know that block value is basically kind of doubling and whatnot. I don't know if they reverted that change, but they're changing block around a little bit, but it's still not quite where they want it to be. But Ghost Crawler Hawk and basically talks about block and how the future of it and what they'd like to do with it. And he said one of the things that he wants to do is they think they would like block to be more mitigation than just a chance to block. Because right now, your block only affects you when you actually do block something, where it doesn't really help you when you're just regularly being hit. And they would like to change that so that it would affect someone a little more. And obviously, doing that, they would have to drop avoidance down, drop parry, and dodge down to compensate for that. But that's something they don't want to do right away. They need to really crunch the numbers on it, because not everyone's got block. Us Death Knights and those druids over there don't block at all. So, if they nerf our avoidance and buff, the other two tanks, the warriors and the paladins, then they become slightly better. And certainly they don't want. They like it, but they want to change it, and they will also want to make it slightly more viable for PvP, for front warriors to step in there. He said they obviously don't want you to go in there and get 19k shield slam crits on people and whatnot, and they don't want to focus too much on PvP because not every front warrior cares about PvP, but they want it to matter a little more in PvP. And change how it works in PvE, but for now they don't have any real clear goal on how to turn it.
block is one of those things that it's just a bit of a tricky stat because it's so useful in a PvP sense. It's just not necessarily fleshed out in a way that makes it necessarily as viable from a gameplay balance perspective in PvP as it is in PvP. So I can see where we're having an issue trying to find the nice niche to make blocks viable for both. Having random effects that make some people